Today we're going to build a zoo. So you think of any animal you might find in a zoo, and we're going to build a habitat, a place for that animal to live that would be as close as we can to what it would be like for them in the wild. Things to think about for this project: where does this animal live naturally, geographically? Antarctica, Africa, and the forest of America, anywhere, that sort of thing. What do they eat? So what type of ecosystem do they live in? Are they in a forest, in a field? Do they have to be near water or in water? An African savanna? What are some of the needs of this animal? Are they an animal that has to find animals to eat, or is it an animal that has to try to avoid being eaten? So it needs to have cover and protection and that sort of thing. Other things to think about since you're building a zoo is how can you make an enclosure, a space for these animals where they're easy for visitors to see, but they're kept safe. Visitors are kept safe from the animals if they're lions and dangerous animals, and also the animals are kept separate and safe from the visitors. And this can be a very short, simple activity with very simple enclosures based on things they already know about the particular animal they've chosen. Perhaps they've chosen an animal that they've already learned about, and so that's what makes them excited about it. So they may already know a lot of things about this particular animal, or maybe it's a completely new animal, or maybe you've assigned the animal to them and they need to do some research with books or online or however they might do that to learn the answers to some of these questions that I just posed at the beginning of this. A few things to think about: some environments are easier than others to build, so they'll need to be creative and do what they can to represent whatever those animals' needs are. So it takes imagination and problem solving to figure out how to represent some of these things with the wood keeper planks. For the animals, you can use animal figurines that you may have. This is a stuffed lion, so this could represent the lion exhibit, even though it may be a giant lion compared to what they're actually building. You can do things very simple like this, a simple piece of paper like this, and this is my penguin that I made. So this makes it stand up, and that is all you need to represent the animal. Or you could even just use your imagination, get it all built, and boom, this is the penguin. And you just set it up, and once they explain that, everybody knows that this represents the penguin. So do what you like, depending on what you have available for the representing the animals. You can do this so that each person is building their little zoo exhibit totally separately on the desk or on a table or on the floor, or this might be an entire classroom activity where each person is building a different segment of a much larger zoo. People can work alone or work with others, or however you like to do that. One thing with this activity is that it really requires explanations when you're done from the builders, so include time for that. A few other things to think about with building this sort of thing is that creating a natural environment requires a different type of building maybe than they're accustomed to. When you're building natural things like hills and caves and lakes and trees and things like that, there's a lot of irregularity to that. Another variation on this activity is they could be building Jurassic Park, and maybe you're talking about dinosaurs, or they love dinosaurs. I have one right here, so you could be building a Jurassic Park and put dinosaurs into it, and you could be talking about all the different sorts of dinosaurs, the ones that big and little, the different ones that are predators and preyed upon, anything you want to explore with dinosaurs. And there's no limits. You could, if you wanted, you could have a dinosaur in your modern zoo and talk about why we don't have actual dinosaurs now, and talk about extinction and changing environments, that sort of thing. Another variation of this activity would be to create the wilderness where these animals actually live, and they would actually be building virtually the same thing. Maybe they wouldn't have some sort of enclosure, but the main difference is that where their mind goes as they're building this, that takes them to out in the wilderness, in the wilds where these animals actually live, and that's what they're thinking about and imagining while they're building, instead of thinking about the zoo where they might visit. And so it's just a very subtle twist, but it kind of takes their minds to a different place, and maybe that is more fitting with what you are studying or what you would like to be doing with the activity. There's many different skills that are being learned as students are doing this activity. As I've talked before, they all happen simultaneously. They are learning about animals from their own research or from what they hear from other people as they are listening to others explain what they've built. They're learning to speak to others and become more comfortable doing that, sharing their knowledge, sharing their ideas, sharing their thought process for how they created this. I wanted to build an iceberg for the penguins, and it was hard, so this is what I did, so this is what my iceberg is. So, but explaining that thought process is a very important skill. If they're working with others, they're automatically practicing collaboration, and they benefit from the ideas of two people thinking about it, and let's do this, yeah, that would be great, let's add that to it, and having more people thinking into that, and the extra manpower, the extra efficiency of having more than one person work on it at the same time. But they also might be building it alone, and that's perfectly fine too. There's benefits to all of those different things, working alone or working with others. Another benefit is they are exercising their imaginations, and because this doesn't look exactly like an iceberg, so the mind has to fill in those gaps with their imagination. So it grows the imagination, and imaginations can be grown. Some people don't use them very often, so doing an activity that requires them to think about something that's not really there, but their mind has to come up with it, that's actually very important. And for the speaking part of it, if you wanted, you could be recording each person as they describe their project, and they get used to being on camera and seeing what they look like. And that's exactly, it's taken me a while to get used to talking into the camera. I've been recording this, and there's so many things now in our culture where being able to use video and speak into a camera and use that becomes an important skill as well. And some students may find that it's really fun and exciting to talk into a camera, and others may be intimidated, but if they do it a little bit, they get used to it. So you can do with that what you like, depending on how much time and interest you have in that sort of thing. And then, as always, when you're done, you're doing the feedback, you're doing the walkthrough, so people get a chance to talk about it, take photos, take videos, and then when you're all done, you pick up. And as always, the nice thing is that the Kiva planks aren't attached to anything, so it's very easy to knock things down. There's no sorting, put them back in the bins, and you are done. I hope you have a great time with this, and we'd love to see pictures of your zoos and your environments and what you do. And until the next time, keep building.